Hi YouTube, it's Narissa, and today I'm doing the YouTube Pagan Challenge, number 4, and number 4 is, let's see, your take on the Wheel of the Year. Alright, well, my take is probably basically like everybody else's you're gonna hear. I mean, there's a mixture of thoughts on it, and you know, the Wheel of the Year to me means the changing of the seasons. And with the changing of the seasons, we have I follow more of an earth base, so more along the lines of crops and how the seasons, you know, work to where, you know, different times, different things are happening. So, you know, a lot of people look at it as the dance, which I do see that part partially, you know. But what I mean by dance is the god and the goddess, you know, starting off as youth and Beltane, or no, yeah, around Beltane, midsummer, they're in their youth, they're full of it, they're randy, they're, you know, they're going to, you know, get together, and as it goes along, you know, she's coming into the full mother, and he's born at Yule, and then he kind of takes over until Beltane, and I understand that, and I don't follow it that way. I do add it into my celebrations, because I think that it is beautiful, and I do, you know, respect the god and the goddess, but my god and goddess are the sun and the moon, and the season is their life. So I'm more earth-based, so I'm going to give you my look. I'm going to give you an idea as how I look at it, but I'm going to put a little bit more into it than just telling you how I look at it. It is February. It'll be February in a few days, or a couple of days. And of course, that is the beginning of, I'm going to start there because that's where we're at. So we're at Imbolc. Okay. Imbolc, it's the first sign of spring. We're coming out of this dead winter, cold, everything's brown and stagnant, and along with that, the humans that are living on this earth, they are too. They're hiding in a little dark place, and this is the point where they get excited. It's like, oh yes. And at this time, this is when used milk is coming in. So they're critters that they're saving and keeping in their storage and in their barns and taking care of them. This is where they get to start, you know, milking and the first signs, the little sprigs of flowers, they're popping through the snow, and that aha moment of, oh, it's going to start. This is the first fertility festival of the year. This is where everything is starting to show itself from those little seedlings that have been hiding. They're coming up through the ground. They're saying hello to the world. And another interesting note is that this is also called breaking of winter's back. This is when it cracks open and everything says, hello, I'm here. So that's Imbolc. So that's February. So we're gonna go around the wheel, you know, and remember, we don't look at it as linear. We look at it as a wheel, because everything turns. It constantly moves. And excuse the Chewini. the kids are getting home from school and they're walking down the street, and how dare them walk on her sidewalk. And she's mad. So, okay, so here we go again. Now we're into March. This is Ostera. This is the second Fertility Festival, and this is also the spring equinox. This is the time that those farmers, those earth people, are going to start planting their seeds. And depending on, where you're at in the world, whether, here in Kansas, we kind of start them in cups, put them outside when it's the last frost. We don't have to worry about it, because sometimes our frost, we've had frost in April here. So it kind of just depends. It depends on the seed. It depends on what you're planting. But so that's the planting of seeds. That's Ostera. That is the time that everything is putting on their little blankets and getting ready to show us what they can do. So as we go around the wheel a little bit further, we march into May. Okay, and May is Beltane. Beltane is the third Fertility Festival. And mind you, during this whole time, the way they would celebrate these festivals, because it was like, yay, and they had different types of celebrations and different things that they would do during the year to celebrate these festivals. And most of the time, the simplest thing was trading seeds or, planning what they were going to, make with all those bountiful things that they were going to have. And they would celebrate these times. So Beltane, we're in Beltane. This is the fruitation of the seeds. This is right when those little sprouts are starting to come up and show themselves. And it's also a time that the animals are given, going to start giving birth. This is, some ranchers, they breed and they wait for right, at a specific time. Some of them do it to where they have them during the winter. Just depends on where you're at, as to how that works. So, that's a Beltane. And this is also the last day to plant those big crops. Those different types of crops you plant earlier and then later for certain crops, depending on what you're planting. So and also this is the time when the veil is open. The veil is open. It's a good time to, walk. Walk in those directions. Anyhow, so as we leave Beltane, we're going to go into June. It's midsummer. Midsummer is just that. It's midsummer. It's the time. It's summer solstice. This is the time when the early fruits are showing, the vegetables and things are starting to show themselves, and it's the popping of what is bountiful. So we're in between the Fertility Festival and then Harvest Festival. So this is where everything is going. Here I am. I'm ready. I'm getting there. I'm about to turn to where you can pick me and eat me. Yum, yum. Everybody loves a fresh tomato off the vine. Do you scamper out and go looking for a fresh, tomato off the vine? I do. If I have my tomatoes going, I do. So, this is also when all of our spring colors, the flowers, the purples, the reds, the pinks, the yellows, all the pretty flowers have just basically dropped off, and now it's all the green hues, and they're getting darker, they're getting deeper, and it's kind of this is when the lush, fertility is bursting. This is when it's coming out and starting to show itself. So as we go along around the wheel, we get into August, and August is Lunasaw, and Lunasaw is our first harvest. Okay, so first harvest, this is, you know, living here in Kansas, we have wheat fields as far as that I can see. It's all about the wheat, and this is when the swathers come out, and this is when they harvest them grains, whether their grain is wheat, or barley, or whatever grain. So also this is the time then everybody started making bread, and this is when the bread harvest, you know, shows itself, and it's a wonderful time to enjoy the fruits of the grain that have been harvested. So this is your first harvest, and so we go around the wheel a little bit further, and we get into Maybin, which is in September, and that is the second harvest. And the second harvest is usually corn. I mean, usually. I mean, it depends on where you live in this United States. This is the main crops. This is the rest of the crops. Okay, so from your gourds, different plants that are a little bit later coming to fruitation. So this is your second harvest, and in some places it's grapes. You know, this is the time when they start getting the grapes out, and they make wine, and well, you know, that's a good time. It's also along this time of year. This is when some animals are going into hibernation, and you know, in different parts of the world, there's different animals that go into hibernation when it gets colder, and they sleep through the winter. And they've been fattening themselves all year. So that also, and at this time, farmers and ranchers and the earth people that would live, you know, no grocery stores, none of that stuff, they would actually be out getting ready for the coming of the colder weather, such as they would be out cutting trees and chopping wood and stacking wood and making sure they have enough to last through the winter, to keep warm. And also at this time they would start, you know, making sure that all their buildings are ready, the roofs don't have leaks, because they're going to be putting all of their harvest into these buildings, and you know, they gotta keep it going. I mean, you just don't have a grocery store that you can run off to. I mean, this is all about the, you know, preserving life, and your life was one of them. So you would keep going around the wheel. And then after we get out of the spring equinox, which was Maybin, we would go into Samhain. Okay, Samhain is the third harvest festival. This is the blood harvest. So this is at the time that these people, or earthbound people, would go out and they would hunt deer, hunt whatever they needed to hunt, meat-wise, what they could get, boar. They would fish, and if they had a ranch and they had certain animals, they would cull their animals. You know, they would pick out which pigs and whatnot, and chickens and stuff like that. And at this time, they would butcher their animals, and they would smoke them. So they would smoke them and get them ready to put into their cellars, their cold boxes, their underground, you know, places to keep food during the winter time, almost like a big, huge freezer. They would, so that they would have something for the winter time. While it was cold, they didn't have to get out in the cold weather, which was very dangerous. I mean, you know, freezing temperatures, and animals that are starving because, you know, they're hunters. They would, you know, there's a possibility of death and all that bad stuff. So that's what happened around this time of year. That's what would happen. I mean, if we didn't have all the things that we do today. So then from Samhain we go into Yule. Yule, of course, was one of the more quiet Sabbats, because it's freezing cold outside. You're hiding inside of your home, your hearth, you're next to that fireplace, and you're slowly dwindling down your stock of foods, grains, and whatnot that you had put away into your cellars. So at this time, they're all kind of, battening down, just being nice and cozy, but also, this is winter solstice. This is when the sun turns, and turns. This is when the sun starts getting closer to the earth. So it's going to slowly start warming the earth. And of course, then that's that wheel. It starts warming, and we come back around to Imbolc. And at this time, they were probably, planning, making sure that they sat back certain seeds out of all of their things that they were eating, and setting stuff back and getting their seeds ready for their next round of crops and their next turn of the wheel. So that's how I look at the wheel of the year. And when I look at the wheel of the year, I don't just look at the Sabbats. I also look at the full moons, because the full moon tells you a story that's basically the wheel. I mean, here we are in January, and January's the wolf's moon. So the wolf moon is at the door. They're howling. These people are hiding behind that door. It kind of gives you another bit of the story. So, look at the names of the moon and the area that you're in, and you'll see that story progress. And another fun thing that I like to do is I like to look at, my garden. You watch your wheel of the year when you plant your garden. You go through this. So, this is Narissa. Awful long video. I am terribly sorry, but I really wanted to put a little bit more into it. And this is week 4. Bright blessings. Bye.